Well, in legal sides, if a loan goes not performing, that does play a role. Certain states don't allow land contracts. You talk to people in Texas, they say, what are you talking about? Right?
I have no idea what a land contract is.
Yeah. You talk to
Contract
people
for
in
deed.
Ohio, Indiana, it's all over the place there. Michigan, right?
If you go to Louisiana, it's called a bond for deed. If you go one of the Carolinas, I think it calls it an agreement for deed. They're all basically the same thing. For our purposes, we kind of lump them together and call it contract for deed or CFD.
Yep. And we didn't know the difference. We would ask you guys to let us know what it is, if it's a mortgage or not. Just make sure you tell us what it is, because we have to price it differently. And certain states are actually discouraging land contracts with the judges. So, and certain situations where the land contract can't be foreclosed on or can't be evicted, you actually have to do a foreclosure, depending on the numbers.
And that doesn't necessarily mean it's a dead deal. It just means we just need to know what it is up front, so we know what we're going to get into here. If we need to convert that over to a mortgage at some point or something else, but we have options, we have things we can do. We just need to know what it is.
Cool.
Getting started.
You lost Melissa for a half a second.
Lost Melissa. Whoops. Hopefully she can jump back on.
We'll switch over.
So when you guys were talking about that, I didn't even realize that we could sell a lease option the same way we would sell a regular mortgage note. Because I do have lease options, but you know, we like to take we like to see our lease options as the dating our tenant before we move them into owner finance.
Yeah.
And it actually works out really well for us. It's, you know, we get to capture, you know, all the tax benefits of being a landlord originally, and then we switch over into an owner finance deal. But I didn't, you know, my concern was always, well, dang, you know, if it's a lease option, I can't cash out of it because I can't sell it because I don't have, you know, they have the option.
Yeah. Yeah. So short answer is we'll buy lease options. With a lease option, it's a little bit more particular, depending on the terms of the contract. They're all different, you know, different lease options are written differently. So we just need to read through the agreement and understand what's in there. But short answer, we'll buy lease options as well. We're probably going to do the same thing and flip it over to either a land contract for deed, whatever you want to call it, or to a deed of trust or a mortgage, a note. We'll probably convert it to something else sometime in the future. But short answer, we'll buy that.
Interesting. Okay.
We had a question here too. Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin asked, he does private lending for 12 months or less. Is there any advantage of selling short-term notes and are marketable? If a note is 12 months, 5 months, 30 years, 20 years, it's a math equation, right? So anything you want to ask, feel free to put in the chat as well. But we can price it. You may get a significant discount, you may not. We run everything through our model and we figure these kind of things out, right? Is it marketable? Absolutely. The world of notes is really buying it as the numbers, right? We base our deals on numbers. Where we're going to get into, you guys base on dollars. And we talked to Justin earlier before we went on, and that idea of basing on dollars may make sense in some worlds, but we're going to show you why it makes sense to do it based on returns better. So the other question we have can you convert a note of a land contract into a deed of trust? Absolutely. It's done very regularly. And we have Max on the audio, he can tell you about that in a short while. But if you need to, you can definitely convert that over. Call the underwriter. Go to their website and you can convert any land contract over to a note. So
and like even Justin, you're saying you need to go to a lease option and then convert them over. You don't need to. I mean, that's fine. And if you want to date them for a little while before you make it permanent, I get that. But you don't have to. You could just start off with a deed of trust, a mortgage, whatever it is in that state.
Is it as valuable that way? Is the note as valuable being a lease option over being a owner finance? Does that affect the value of that deal?
So probably in order of value, the lease option is probably going to be on the bottom of that. Again, not to say that it's not valuable, but I'm probably going to pay more for a deed of trust than I am for a lease option.
Okay.
Getting feedback. Is that me?
Yeah, I'm not sure who that was, but Melissa's back. Welcome back.
Hey, Melissa. Glad to be back.
Struggling over here. It's pretty much the story of my life. Quick question about the lease option though. Okay, so let's say that we did a lease option with someone and we met you guys and you're like, okay, we'll pay more for deeds of trust and not so much for lease options. Could we go back to that lease option buyer and redo the deal, like start a DOT?
Yep.
Absolutely.
And then sell it to you. Okay.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah.
We would recommend.
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking off of what she's saying, is a lot of times what we do is when we advertise for the owner finance buyers, we have our lease option is say 5% down, and then our owner finance would be 10 to 15% down.
Mm-hmm.
Would be kind of like what she's saying. If I took the 5% down and then in a year say, okay, you still got on-time payments, let's go ahead and convert it without you coming with the rest of the down payment, would that be something that would, and then immediately turn around and call you guys and say, hey, I've got this owner finance situation or deal for sale? I guess it'd be a note at that point. Would that affect anything?
So a couple of things. Dave, I'll get you in a sec. But so 10% down is better than 5% down for sure.
Of course.
You've got now 12 months of pay history though as well. That's
right.
Also something. So that
even though that's technically rental payment.
They're making regular
it's
payments.
Seasoning.
Right.
Right. And
so even rental payments are seasoning.
Yeah. And you may say, listen, I have 2 payments, but then you say, listen, I have 12 months of rental payments I can prove. That's more attractive than some brand new person, right? Think about if you're buying a rental property, if you're going to buy a performing rental, right? What do you do with the situation where if property is already rented out for a year, you feel good about that renter.
Yeah.
Or if it's brand new rental, buy a performing rental and they're brand new, it's not so attractive.
So a
12
months kind of offsets that a bit, the 5% down.
Oh, okay. That was gonna be my next question, because a lot of times we wait for them to come up with the rest of the down payment
Mm-hmm.
to convert them over, but it sounds like we'd be just fine just moving them over into an owner finance as it is.
Yeah, and so maybe that's the next thing we should get into, David. We've had another question about that, about what kind of terms we're looking for, that kind of thing. Maybe that's the next step here.
Yep. Go down our checklist here. So go ahead and start off with that.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So we're looking at a few different things. When we're looking at a note, down payment is the first thing. So the bigger the down payment, the better. It shows that person's got skin in the game, and you guys all know this. This is what you do. But that bigger the down payment, the more skin in the game, the safer it is for somebody to take that on and have confidence that they're going to continue to make payments long term. So that's number one. Down payment, bigger the better. I would say, as a general rule, I would go 10%. Dave, you looking at anything different, or is that about right?
It's weird, right? With this finance world, with bank originated notes, this never was a problem. It was never an issue. So now the world is, I'm more worried about LTV now because of what's going on out there than actually down payment per se. So on a $5,000, I would think more percentage wise. So if that note is $5,000, but it's a $50,000 note versus a $100,000 note, to me, that percentage is big, but I can figure out the percentage wise. So down payment will allow me to figure out the percentage that was down made. For me, that's more attractive than a dollar amount.
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
but before we get to our list, I wanted to make sure that you guys have some more general knowledge before we dive into it. And we're going to have a form. I'll put it in the chat box here for you guys that will allow you to get the full list of items that we want. Any note buyer would want, actually. So one thing you have to figure out is, are you a borrower or a lender? And what I mean by that is, a lot of you guys out there are subject to buyers, where you bought a property subject to, and you're technically a borrower to the other one, but then you're a lender to the new owner. And there's some Dodd-Frank rules behind what you're doing to make sure it stays legal. We're not going to get too deep into that right now, but if there's a question about that, we can kind of hit on things. But we got to make sure that if you're a borrower and a lender, we need to make sure if we're buying that second lien that's created, or that CFD, whatever you're creating, is able to pay off the first, and the contract shows the fact that we can do that. And in addition to that, making sure you let the borrower know that the first lien is still there. You need to let the borrower know that the subject to lien is there, or because there's subject to situations, if you have questions, we have Max on that can explain a little bit more about that. But you need to make sure your borrowers know that there's the first lien on there. Some other things are the amortization UPB. We're going to get into what that means, but understand there's a UPB, unpaid principal balance, as the note goes down, and that should stay amortization wise. And that relates to a payment, right? When you make a payment that's $742.36, if they pay $740, that wasn't a full payment. It sounds foolish, but it affects the way the balloon on the end of the payment is. Even that change, because if you take 10 cents and multiply it by 360 payments, there's a balloon at the end of it. And that will change everything out. And if it gets contested in foreclosure, we buy it and start defaulting, that all comes back into play.
So I have a quick question.
Sure.
If I can go back to the subject to question, the subject to discussion. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if I have an underlying mortgage and then I have a wrap note on it, and you buy that second lien note, it would wipe out the first and make you the first lien holder, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and it has to happen that way, right?
Does it
Yes.
have to? Yeah, I guess it does.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to. We prefer to. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm gonna get another thing is, if you're buying a first lien or buying a second lien, the pricing changes, just like seasoning. So the first lien is not as risky as the second, which means I'm going to buy that second at a much deeper discount.
Okay, so let's say I have an underlying lien that's dang near the same as the if I, because I'll buy subject to houses that have no equity in them, and then I'll wrap them. You know, obviously I can't sell just that second lien,
You
right?
You can actually.
I love it. I love it. Yes. So
Okay,
you
I
can
guess
tell
I'm
me the
confused
second
if
lien.
I sell that second lien.
Let's use real numbers here. You bought a
Okay.
subject to property for 40 grand. You're into it. You rewrote a note on that property, say $100,000. So you have total debt of 140,000. If I sit there and give you, say, 80 grand for it, you can take 40 of that grand, pay off the first, which I would want, and then you get 40 grand in your pocket and you walk away. And then I'm in first position now.
Right. And if
That's
I
it.
don't pay off that first lien, wouldn't that first lien get paid off at closing?
So there's no closing here.
Right.
We're not doing a title closing here at all. This is not a property sale. This is a note sale.
Just notes.
Okay.
I love it. I love this.
And is there any legality there that I should be, you know, concerned with, you know, with in a situation like that? Because if that first note gets called, I mean, I'm technically I'm out of the woodworks there. Why would I pay off that lien? Is that,
So
that makes
we would
sense? I
set
mean,
it
I know
up-
I would ethically, but
Correct. Yeah. And
why would
for
somebody pay
us,
that off?
Our
And we would
contract
want
would
it that
probably
way.
be set up that we would pay off the first inside of an escrow kind of account in
Okay.
that contract with you guys. Hey, listen, I need a payoff balance at first. make sure it's included in our contract, would say this would happen. And we probably run it through like an escrow or attorney to ensure that money gets DV'd correctly.
Okay.
To be quasi closing, I kind of set up. That's how I would probably do it in that situation. I haven't done it yet, but that's my thought process.
Okay. So why would somebody only sell the second lien?